Back when he was known in his professional life as Captain Harry Wales of the Blues and Royals, the artist presently known as Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, was probably the most popular member of the royal family. Much of that popularity had to do with the seriousness with which he had approached his military career, as well as his dogged insistence upon fighting with his unit on the front lines in Afghanistan, which he ultimately did do for about 10 weeks. And I think he may actually be the only British prince ever to fire his weapon at the enemy on the battlefield. There have been other princes in combat zones, obviously. Prince Andrew flew a rescue helicopter during the Falklands War. The future King George VI was present at the Battle of Jutland. And there have been others earlier than that, but never in a capacity where they would have been handling a rifle or a musket or anything but a sword. But Harry? That dude has fired real shots in anger, and that matters. That gave him a kind of public credibility that really can't be matched any other way. And the other thing that set him apart from his relatives and earned him a unique place in the hearts of the people was his willingness to thumb his nose at politically correct bullshit. Going to a costume party in the uniform of an SS Obersturmbannführer is a very bold move indeed. You have to not give a lot of fucks in order to pull a move like that. And yeah, when it happened, decorum demanded that everybody had to pretend they were offended and scandalized by the whole thing, but deep down they were laughing because it was funny. And it was the same deal when he got busted snapping bong loads in the palace closet when he was 17, because is there anything more relatable and down to earth than that? Who among us, when we were that age, hasn't been caught partaking of the devil's cabbage? And when Harry's dad, the Prince of Wales as he was then, made him go to some stupid drug education diversion program, everybody felt for the kid. Like, oh, come on now, it's just a bit of reefer. Teach him to blow the smoke through a sheet of fabric softener and he won't get busted again. You put all that stuff together and tie it up in a bow, and you've got a guy who should be a tremendous asset for the royal family. He has rendered honorable service to his country. He seems like a decent bloke, the kind of bloke you can picture yourself tipping a pint with down the pub. He's had many of the same struggles as other people of his generation. And most importantly, up until the middle of the last decade, this dude had more masculine alpha male energy than any of the men in that family for the last 3 generations. Seriously, you probably have to go back to a couple of Queen Victoria's younger sons, Prince Alfred and Prince Arthur, to find royal princes who were viewed by the public at large as being professional soldiers and real men. So it's a pretty jarring juxtaposition when you put Prince Harry as he was in the middle of 2015 next to Prince Harry as he is today, after 7 years spent reinventing himself as the most obnoxious woke wanker in the whole wide world. A man who has to have his wife open up her handbag when he feels like visiting his testicles. A man who enjoys nothing more than blubbering about his feelings in public and being a living, breathing object lesson in what happens when you arrive at the 3-way intersection of manipulation, narcissism, and codependency. A man who said he wanted to swear off the royal life, but yet has no other source of income except slandering his family in exchange for 10-figure checks from Netflix, which that wasn't Plan A, of course. Plan A was to take the name of his dukedom and turn it into a consumer brand, which is a very classy, dignified move indeed, to which the Queen said, yeah, that's not going to happen, kids. And I guess there's an argument to be had on which one of those things is sleazier and less dignified than the other, but it's a 20-minute program, so maybe we can find the answer before the time comes for me to command all of you to vacate my front garden. It's a British-themed episode, so we might as well speak British, right? Shuffle off of my front garden now! I say, but the thing that's worst of all, the thing that I bet was seen as the biggest gut punch in the family, was Harry's abandonment of the post of Captain General Royal Marines. When Prince Philip retired from his duties at the age of 97, his very last public engagement was to stand down as Captain General Royal Marines, which is a pretty good indication that it meant the most to him of all the titles he held, and he chose Harry to pass it on to, in large part because of the credibility he had earned with the military through his own active service. So to have him abandon that post just to trot off to Hollywood with his divorced American actress wife for his grandparents, I have to think that was the most upsetting thing of all. I never met the Duke of Edinburgh, but I'm pretty sure he didn't take very kindly to being made to look like a chump, and that's what Harry did. He made his grandfather look like a chump. He took the office that meant more to him than any other office, the most meaningful gift he had to give, and he tossed it aside like a frickin' chimp wrapper after less than a year. Picture yourself being 97, and picture being slapped in the face like that by your own grandson. Picture how much that has to suck. So I don't know if it was morbid curiosity or plain old masochism or the potential entertainment value of watching a slow-motion human train wreck or some unfortunate confluence of the three that impelled me to attempt watching the first 3 episodes of whatever this thing is that Harry and Meghan have out on Netflix. I'm not even sure what the actual name of it is, but let's face it, it's The Meghan Show. It's, let's all celebrate how amazing and smart and beautiful and amazing Meghan is. And have I mentioned that Meghan is amazing? Like, so amazing, guys. You'd be amazed how amazing Meghan is. The other overarching theme of this show, program, series, whatever you want to call it, seems to be that Britain is a horrible, terrible, racist country full of horrible, terrible, racist people who hounded poor Harry and Meghan out of the country with their horrible, terrible racism. And they play a montage of people saying things that are supposed to be evidence of this horrible, terrible racism that exists in Britain, except you don't actually hear anyone say anything racist. One guy says, I like Brexit, screw the EU. Another guy says, I don't like illegal immigration. We don't know who these people are who are coming into our country. And they just leave it at that. Like, that's your entire United Kingdom systemic endemic racism montage. Aren't you shocked and scandalized by the horrible, terrible racism of it all? But I do think this series, in some strange way, might wind up being a valuable artifact. A snapshot of a very strange moment in Western cultural history when we made victimhood into the best kind of social currency. And it reached such an apogee of absurdity that royal dukes and duchesses took to cosplaying as common people, not unlike Marie Antoinette and her friends doing their little fun pantomimes at the Hameau de la Reine 240 years ago. Imagine Marie Antoinette on Twitter. She'd probably still be less annoying than the Duchess of Sussex, but I digress. From atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where we have recently replaced all of our torture chamber equipment if you're looking for a good deal on a used thumbscrew or an Iron Maiden. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the program. I'm your eponymous host and humble servant. And do you know how on every bad, low-budget reality TV show you've ever watched, they tend to make really heavy-handed use of the music to tell the audience what emotion they are supposed to be feeling at any given time? There's a hell of a lot of that in this Harry and Meghan show, and it's difficult knowing just what to make of it. Like, are they engaging in dumb reality TV tropes because they don't know any better? Because $30 million of production budget doesn't buy the brain power it used to? Or is it a conscious choice? Because they're trying that hard to portray themselves as so very common and average and ordinary. I'll tell you the first thing that made me laugh right out loud. It comes less than 5 minutes into the first episode, where we are supposed to believe that Meghan, in a totally spontaneous, unguarded moment, has propped her little cell phone up on the bathroom counter so she could sit there with a towel on her head in sweatpants and a t-shirt, no makeup, and just pour her heart out to nobody in particular about how terribly difficult it is being a royal duchess. And you watch this and you think, is anybody really buying this? Because I guarantee you that clip is being shot by a camera guy with a camera. The sound is being recorded by a sound guy. There's at least a dozen production staffers in the room, and they probably spent half the goddamn afternoon composing the shot. So I'm sorry, guys, you are not fooling anybody with the, ooh, let's switch the orientation and make it look like a cell phone video trick, because I can do that trick too. Anybody with a $20 video editing software suite can do that trick. The point being, if you're going to insult my intelligence that brazenly before the 5-minute mark of the first episode, well, that's a pretty auspicious beginning. I can't wait to see what else is in store. I mentioned at the end of the open, that the two main thrusts of this seem to be, number one, Meghan is amazingly amazing, and two, British people are evil, racist assholes. But there is also a third thrust, and they make a point of really leaning into it at least once per episode, and that is Meghan basically is Princess Diana. She shares all of Diana's admirable qualities, whatever those may have been, and if Diana were alive today, she and Meghan would be absolute total besties, and it would be amazing. Now, it used to be, not so long ago, that little girls dreamed of marrying a handsome prince because marrying the handsome prince was the reward in itself. The handsome prince, he picked me to marry out of all the girls in the world, and now I get to go live in a palace and wear fancy dresses all the time and have people wait on me hand and foot. But then we've never had a cultural moment quite like this one we're all blessed to be living through currently. So now, marrying the handsome prince is not an end unto itself. Marrying the handsome prince is just a vehicle whereby you can draw more public attention to your inevitable claims of being a victim of racism. Because in this world, in this cultural moment, a victim of racism is the absolute best thing you can be. Being a victim of racism is the new golden ticket to a lifetime of public approbation. Being a victim of racism means you earn more social currency than you could get from 12 lifetimes of just being some obscure royal duchess. Which Meghan could have been, of course, and nobody should lose sight of that fact. Yes, the press were very interested in you when you were the fiancé and then the new bride of the monarch's grandson. But that was not a permanent state of affairs. If you had just contented yourself with doing what royal duchesses do, cutting ribbons at hospitals, going to balls and garden parties and ship christenings and fleet reviews and so on, you could have had nearly all the anonymity that you claim to want so badly. Let's just take a moment to consider some other people in the royal family who occupy a similar station to Prince Harry. Prince Michael of Kent, for one example, grandson of George V, nephew to George VI, first cousin to Queen Elizabeth. Do you have any idea who Prince Michael of Kent's wife is? If she bumped into you on the street, would you have any idea who she was? Of course you wouldn't. She's a minor royal. She does what minor royals do, and nobody in the paparazzi gives a damn because minor royals are not all that important. Prince Harry is a minor royal. He is the grandson of a queen, son of a king, brother of a future king, uncle to another future king. He's just not all that important in the grand scheme of things. As far as the line of succession goes, he became irrelevant as soon as his sister-in-law, the Princess of Wales, as she is now, started producing heirs. So if you wanted all the perks of being a royal duchess, plus the anonymity you claim to desire so fervently, all you had to do was perform your duties as a working member of the royal family, keep your head down, melt into the background. There wouldn't even be all that much effort required. But come on. We weren't all born yesterday. We know a genuine desire for anonymity and privacy has never been part of this equation. And you know how we know that? Because people who are seeking privacy and anonymity don't drag a camera crew around with them all day, everywhere they go, recording every single move and utterance for posterity. Also, your impassioned pleas to be left alone, they tend to ring a little bit hollow when you issue them in the context of a nationally televised primetime interview. Why can't they just leave us alone? Why, Oprah? Why? You know, these two people, I think they have managed to reach such a level of insufferability. I am hard-pressed to think of any celebrity super couple that has ever been more annoying and more thoroughly unlikable. And I can't help feeling empathy for Harry on some level, even in spite of his obvious and overwhelming stupidity, because the day is going to inevitably arrive when his wife has bailed on him, and she's taken the kids with her, and he is going to be left with nothing but a family that doesn't want to talk to him because they disowned his ass because he damn well earned it. I think he probably is as besotted with this woman as he acts like he is. I think he probably believes that she has his best interests at heart. I think he's been so taken in with all this sensitive liberal Hollywood bullshit that he genuinely believes he's a better man today than he was back when he was a real man. And this, after all, is an integral component of the prevailing woke worldview, that a man who blubbers about his feelings and cries in public and goes to psychotherapy 17 times a week and dutifully holds his wife's handbag is a better sort of man than a battle-hardened professional soldier who slays his enemies and doesn't give two squirts of piss about any politically correct bullshit. And Meghan, for her part, she seems to want to have everything both ways. On the one hand, She incessantly refers to herself as mixed race and talks practically ad nauseum about what an integral component of her identity it is that she's mixed race. And then practically in the same breath, she turns around and calls the British press a bunch of horrible, awful, terrible racists for talking about the fact that she's mixed race. So which one is it? You kind of have to pick one or the other, don't you? Also, let's deal with this question that still needs to be dealt with. Why is it racist to wonder what sort of skin tone a mixed-race baby is going to have? I still need somebody to explain that one to me because I don't get it. There was no attempt at an explanation in the Oprah interview. The Duchess simply remarked that some unnamed member of the royal family had wondered aloud about what the baby was going to look like, and Oprah just gasps and starts going apoplectic like it's the most heinously racist thing she has ever heard in her natural-born life. But why? If a half-black mother and a white father are expecting, isn't it perfectly reasonable to wonder about such things? It's not like there was any preference being expressed. It's not like the unnamed family member is accused of saying, "Oh dear, I certainly hope the little tyke doesn't come out looking African." The other thing they hold up repeatedly a few different times as an example of British press racism is the headline, and I forget which paper it was from, that referred to Meghan as almost straight out of Compton. So again, I pose the question, why is that headline racist? Facts about the world are not and can never be racist, and that headline relates a fact about the world. That Meghan Markle was born and raised just a short distance away from Compton, California, which she was. So where is the racism exactly? Is it in the use of the word straight out of Compton? I don't know why that would be. It's a very well-known album that's considered one of the classic seminal works of West Coast hip-hop. Is it in the fact that Compton is a mostly black city? So what? Could it be that the headline writer was simply trying to give the reader a sense of where in the world Prince Harry's fiancée was from, and he used the easiest cultural shorthand that he could think of? If the headline said Meghan Markle from Canoga Park, would that mean anything to the average British reader? And you'll have to forgive me the clumsy segue, but I feel like John Gruden deserves a shout out here, because I still don't understand what that guy said that was supposed to be racist. He said a black guy has big lips. And the guy he said it about really does have big lips. He said this in a 10-year-old email, and he got fired from his job for being a racist. We are constantly being told that this is racist, that's racist, this other thing is racist, all these people are racist. But do we ever get a detailed explanation for why any of that is? A British guy says, "I don't want illegal aliens in my country," and that's held up as racism? Because I never knew illegal alien was a racial group. Another British guy says, "I like Brexit," and that gets similarly held up as evidence of racism because I never knew European Union was a racial group. It's almost like some people just want to use the word racism as a magical get-out-of-jail-free card that enables them never to have to subject their political worldview to reasonable scrutiny. But if there's one thing I do know, it is that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are currently the two most ridiculous, most loathsome people in the whole wide world. But then it's exceedingly difficult not to come off looking ridiculous and loathsome when the affluent and the entitled don't want anything from life except for the social currency that accompanies grievance and victimhood. I don't know, in all honesty, what this documentary series is designed to accomplish, frankly. I can't imagine anybody watching this thing and thinking, yes, I really like and identify with these two people. I don't even have any idea who the target audience is supposed to be. But if I was a British subject and I saw this thing, it sure would piss me right the fuck off. I would want to sue these two assholes for defaming my country and its people in such an execrable, cynical, self-serving way. And I think I wouldn't want the king's younger son ever setting foot in the country again if he detests it so very much. And in case you're wondering, back when Lady Curmudgeon and I first got married, we did toy with the idea of having her carry my testicles around in her handbag. We just couldn't find a big enough handbag. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Have a pleasant tomorrow. I will see you Wednesday. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.